I heard the guy's screams, manual again. Then I ran to the fields. I went into the cornfields and I started to shout at Uncle, but he never answered me. So I stayed silent to see if I could hear him again. They were very distressing minutes. I felt like my heart was thundering very loudly in my chest, and at the moment I heard some grunts in front of me. I ran with all my strength towards that place. When I removed the last cornfields from my face, I stayed frozen, and a chill ran through my entire body. In front of me was a huge animal on top of my uncle. It looked like a dog or a wolf. It had on its hairy back something that looked like horns. Its hind legs were visible, very thin, looked more like the legs of a goat. It had one of its claws buried in my uncle's shoulder, and the other claw was on top of his head, as if he were going to hit him. At that moment, he raised his horrible face towards me. He seemed almost human, but instead of a mouth, he seemed to have a snout, half open and full of yellowish fangs. He looked at me for a moment with those eyes, demonic reds. It was until that moment that I realized that I had never touched a weapon in my life. I was terrified. I didn't even know how to hold it, and that animal seemed to understand it. For a moment I felt like it was making fun of me, and he returned his attention to my uncle. I was so desperate that I don't know how it all happened. I only remember that I grabbed the shotgun very tightly by the barrel with both hands and that I raised it above me as high as I could. Then I hit the head of that animal with all my strength. I only heard like a crunch. That beast slowly stood up on its hind legs. It was huge. My head barely reached its height. Just he looked at me with those burning red eyes. And at that moment I saw how a lot of blood began to drip onto his face. He snorted very loudly a couple of times, turned around and went into the cornfields. At that moment I heard a moan. It was my uncle. I knelt down to help him get up, and we went very slowly towards the house. In the distance we saw my Aunt Loop, who was at the door with the machete in her hand. When she saw us, she ran to help me. Between the two of us, we took him to the living room and set him on the couch. I hadn't realized, but all my clothes were stained with blood. I started to check myself to see if I didn't have any wounds. My Aunt Luke took off Uncle Manuel's jacket and shirt and applied the same mescal to him. The uncle only gritted his teeth but did not scream. My uncle were very rough people. Then she cleaned and checked his wounds. He put a piece of aloe vera wrapped in another herb that he didn't know and let it rest for a moment before starting to suture it. At that moment, my uncle asked me to sit next to him, and with his free hand he began to suture me, explain how to remove the safety from the shotgun, and then he showed me where I had to look to shoot and where I should load it again. Then he looked at me and smiled at me. He thanked me for having saved him life, and he promised me that he would teach me how to shoot. A short time later we heard the car. I ran to see how my dad was. He had part of his leg and thigh bandaged. They also had to give him several stitches, but his injuries were not dangerous. Between my sister and I helped him enter the house. When he saw my uncle, he asked him if he was okay. The uncle told him yes. Then he paused and he told him that he was very sorry for having put our lives in danger. That same afternoon we returned home so that my father could have the necessary care. The following year we returned and my uncle Manuel kept his promise to teach me how to shoot.